What's up, and welcome back to day 11 for the Soul Movement Challenge. Yesterday was a more restorative day, so today we are going to crank the intensity just a smidge more than what we had yesterday. So we are going to bring the feet out. We are starting in standing, and we are going to start out by allowing the hips to warm up, hopefully in a pretty organic way. So we want the back to stay nice and upright, and I'm going to start with just a really soft little transition here. I like to call this a circular squat, but you're just allowing for your hips to move and slowly open to deeper and deeper ranges of motion. See if you can focus on your breath here. I know you're going into it cold, so your body may not be ready to go very deep, and that's okay. Just kind of go to whatever range of motion you feel comfortable to be at on this fine, whatever the day this is for you. Nice. Just continuing this nice little loop. And you can kind of let it deepen as you feel more and more comfortable. All right, if you haven't already, let's go ahead and switch directions. And the range of motion is very much kind of what you feel capable of doing today. Every day is going to feel a little bit different. So if you feel like pushing it and getting a little deeper, definitely go there. If you're not ready for that yet, do not worry. We will get there in its own time. Just getting that nice little loop, nice little circular squat. Keep going with it. All right, you can rest. I'm going to go almost a little bit in reverse, a little bit harder movement, now go into a little bit easier movement. We're going to go into a march. So one arm is coming up while the opposite leg is coming up. And I'm going to keep the foot dorsiflexed here. So I'm going to be alternating, just going back and forth, building that contralateral pattern, getting the hips a little bit more woken up, waking up, woken up. Hopefully you're feeling good this morning or this afternoon, whatever time you're doing this at. Try to focus on making sure that you are keeping that foot dorsiflexed and that you are staying with the opposites. This would be a tough one to do from an ipsilateral standpoint, but if you wanted a challenge, you could always challenge yourself in that way. All right, you can rest. We're going to continue from a standing position. We're going to bring the arms out. We've kind of played around with some different arm movements. Today, we're going to bend the arms and we're going to play around with a movement that is kind of, I always think about this movement as kind of like how air traffic controllers move the planes around. That's kind of what we're doing here. So bringing it in and around. And you can, I do have a fist happening with my hands, but it's not a very tight fist. I'm purposely trying to keep some relaxation in my hands, even though I am kind of almost pretending as though I'm holding something. Nice little flow here. Allow for the shoulders to warm up a little bit. Nice. And then we're going to be going down to the ground. We're going to do a couple of new movements for you. So this first one, I'm going to kind of tell you it because it's going to be probably a little hard to see from the angle I have the camera set up in. You're going to go palms down and it's going to look like this. You're doing kind of like a snow angel, but face down. So I'm going to be laying on the ground. I'm hoping my mic won't get smothered. I'm going to be in this position with my head up. I'm going to lift my arms up off the ground and then reach out in front of me and then bring it back. And you can start pretty small with the range of motion, but eventually we want to try to get as much range of motion as you can get. Again, the head's up and trying to create some ease in the movement. And just focus on allowing for anything that doesn't need to be tense to be relaxed. Let's do one more rep. All right. And then we're going to stay on the ground here. I'm going to come up just to explain this next one. We're going to put the forehead on the hands, and we're going to get some deep breathing in this position. So it's going to be a little bit more mellow. It's not meant to be super challenging, just meant to connect you to a more relaxed, more diaphragmic way of breathing. So allowing for your sides, your back, your belly to all move as you breathe. So I'm coming down, forehead on the hands, and then just focus on your breath. Try to relax the shoulders. Try to feel into the sides and the back, allowing for that deep diaphragmic breath. All right, you can relax. I mean, you're probably already relaxed from that breathing, but you can come into your hands being underneath you. We're going to take one leg. You can kind of see I'm moving this back foot. I'm going to take the leg up and over. I'm going to press myself to a seated position just like so. Then I'm going to come back down and then go to the other side. So this is meant to be a pretty mellow movement. I'm just getting some weight in my hands that I can press with, getting a nice long position for this other leg, and then a bent knee position for my reaching leg. And we'll just go back and forth here. This might even be one you have to pause or slow down because it can be a little confusing, even though it's such a small movement. All right, let's come back. Rest, and you can press your way back up to standing. And then we're going to go into some different squat variations. This first one is just a standard squat. I'm just going to wake the legs up a little further, wake the hips up a little further. So we're just going to bring the feet about shoulder width apart. We're going to try and get the thighs to be parallel to the ground. And as you're moving here, trying to keep the back relatively upright. It will move forward a little bit, but you're just trying to stay to where it's kind of like if you had writing on your t-shirt. Someone standing in front of you should still be able to see what's written on your t-shirt. So you're not trying to crane your neck or do anything crazy. You're just trying to keep a somewhat neutral back position. So you don't want to, again, not hyperextending, but just keeping the back in a slightly more upright position. Let's do one more. And then we're going to take it into a slightly harder variation. This next one we're going to try to do all in one set. So I'm not going to come out of it. We're just going to be staying in a squat position and lifting and lowering our heels. I introduced you to this movement really early on, but now we're going to do a bigger set. We are going to try to do 20 reps, 2-0. And I believe you. I believe in you. I know that you can do this, okay? So feet are shoulder width apart. Try to go parallel with the hips, but if that does not feel good yet, or if you're not able to get down that low, just shorten the range of motion. But we are trying to hold that as we start this set. So going in 3, 2, 1, All right, we're down there and we're now going for reps. 1, good. Stay with it. I don't know where you're at, but I'm about halfway right now. Good. Try and push a little bit further. Good. One more rep. One more rep. All right, you can come out of it. You can rest. You can shake the legs out a little bit. For some of you, that would be pretty challenging. And for some of you, that might feel pretty easy. And if it does feel easy, that is amazing. Just know that there are lots of ways to progress it. We can make it harder, we can make it easier. On that movement specifically, making it easier is just getting up and starting from more of a quarter squat instead of a full squat. And if you want to make it a little bit harder for yourself, when you are down there, every time that you come up and down, just try to slow the movement down. So every single rep, instead of doing it where you're just coming up and down, it's more like you have a very slow little calf raise and a very slow lower, to where one rep takes you maybe 2 or 3 seconds instead of just taking you about 1 second. All right, let's go take it into some other movement positions. We're gonna now go into a cross squat get up. This is one that we did, I kind of showed you before. We're gonna start from the top down. So I'm starting here. I'm gonna be on the sides of my feet. Again, limit this range of motion depending on how easy or difficult this is for you. We're gonna try to come down and come back up. Now I just shortened it so you can see what that looks like. If you're able to make it all the way down, that's where we want to eventually go with it. But remember, we want good control. So if you're falling out of it, you may need to limit the range of motion. Coming back up, going again. Oh, I kind of fell out of that one a little bit. Coming back up, coming back down, back up, back down. Just playing with these positions a little bit. All right, we'll do one more. We'll come back up out of it. And then we're going to switch. So for me, my right leg was just in front. Now my left leg is going to go in front. Take a second and shake it out. Again, feel free to sit on something. If getting to the ground just feels like too much at this point, feel free to sit on something. So now we're left foot out in front and we're coming down, trying to sit all the way onto the ground. And I mentioned this before, but you are more than welcome with any of these to rock your way up, make the movement. It'll make it harder for your core, but it'll make the movement for your legs a little easier. And if you're not already, the feet should be very, very flexed here in order to create some rigidity so that you can have a stable position to move on. If I go passive with the feet, it's going to put a lot of pressure in the ankle, but it's also going to make it to where it's less stable for me to stand on. Let's try for one more on this side. Nice. Okay. We're doing a lot with the lower body. We're going to stay doing a little bit more with the lower body. We're now going to go into what's called a curtsy lunge or a cross back lunge. And this means that the back foot is going to be like this. It's kind of as if you are doing a curtsy. You are crossing the leg and bringing this back knee all the way to the ground. And the knee will end up behind the front foot. So I'm going to bring it back around. I'll show you that on the same side again. The more you can have your legs perpendicular to each other, the better. Now I'm going to alternate. So now I'm going to go this side. Notice my body is counter rotating. The reason it's called that curtsy, right, is that I'm kind of keeping my body pointed forward, bring it up, keeping my body pointed forward. The more you twist that leg around, the more you will get from the movement. So getting a lot of twists is a good thing. Just try not to reach too far, because if you reach too far, you're gonna put a lot of stress into that kind of lateral edge of the hip there. All right, so you can rest, and then we're gonna come back down to the ground. We're gonna take it into some core movement again. We'll kind of play with some different core movement. Today, we're gonna do a different movement altogether. So today we are doing more of a side, what am I trying to say? A side knee in position. So we did this with the legs straight, but today we are bending the knees and then extending them out. So I'm here. So again, it's kind of a good reminder that just because you can do a harder version of whatever the movement is, doesn't mean you should. There are occasions and days when doing a slightly more mild version is actually more effective because you can get more out of the movement. So again, I'm still trying to keep my knees in. When I say knees in, I'm talking about knees kind of getting pulled together. I've got some weight in this arm that's on the ground. Let's get a few more reps here. All right, let's go ahead and switch it out. This is an awesome one for if you're really trying to build a strong core, but more specifically, the connection between your core and your hips, which is kind of a position that not enough people train. All right, so starting here again, we're gonna tuck the knees in and extend them back out. Feel free to, if you want to take it and make it harder, you can, but keep in mind that, regressing a movement does not mean that you are losing progress or that you're not doing it in the way that you should. It's learning how to enjoy your movement, not always going for the most intense variation. A lot of lessons in that. Good, let's do one more rep. All right, and then we're gonna take it back up to standing. So hopefully the core is still feeling good, because again, that was, for some of you, it might be a pretty difficult position, but it's definitely on the more mild side in terms of different ones that we've worked already to this point. Now we're gonna be standing on a single leg, which we have played with some different variations. Today is gonna be a little bit different still. I want you to think about it like you've got an object off to your side on both ends of your body. So kind of think about it that you've got, a tennis ball or a book, one over here, one over here. We're gonna be standing on one leg and we are going to touch this invisible object. Then I'm gonna go behind my leg and I'm gonna touch the invisible object on the other side. And we're gonna go back and forth like that. So touch, bringing it around, touch, touch, touch. Bringing that leg behind is probably gonna be the harder of the two, obviously, but a lot of it depends on how far you go. Touch, touch. All right, you can rest. We're not gonna do a ton of reps there, but I do wanna give you some encouragement that if you do have a couple of books or yoga blocks or tennis balls that you can put on the floor, it will help a lot with this movement because it helps you have a sense of not only, how far am I traveling, but also giving yourself a little bit of a challenge so that as you get fatigued, you're having to kind of push yourself a little bit further. All right, so now we're gonna be, for me, I'm switching now. I'm on my right leg, I was on my left, and we are going to, again, touching to one side and then touching to the other. Touch, touch. And this is one where, getting the body to move as a counterbalance is going to help tremendously. So make sure you keep this knee bent. Make sure you allow your body to do what it needs to make the movement happen. Nice. All right, you can rest. Nicely done. All right. So hopefully you're feeling good. We're getting some good movement, some good diversity of movement. Now we're going to come down to a plank position. This time we're going to go from a high plank down to a low plank. and we're going to do that in succession. So if push-ups are a weak point for you, one, it's going to be a good one because it's going to help to strengthen that. But two, it's also going to be probably on the more difficult end of the things we do today. So we're going to bring the hands out in front. The feet are going to be wide. I'm coming down to the elbows and back up to the hands. And you can go, don't go crazy fast, but you can go pretty fast. But try to keep in mind, we want very little weight shift from side to side. If you haven't already, make sure you alternate too. And rest. Nice. So we're still building, obviously. That might still have been pretty challenging, but we're not going to do a huge set because I want, again, for you to build the consistency. Consistency is everything when it comes to this practice, and more specifically, this challenge. So let's go ahead and come on back up. We're going to come back to a slightly more mellow movement. We're going to come back to this kind of twist that we've done a handful of times now, allowing for the arms to relax, kind of sling out away from you, and allowing for the hips to rotate. If you can already tell, I'm changing the movement slightly. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a little bit of a down and up to the movement, and I'm changing where my arms are hitting now. So now I'm hitting my shoulder, and I'm hitting slightly more on my mid back. All right, you can rest. Well done. Day 11 in the books. Keep in mind that we're still on the front end of the challenge. So all of the movements that we're doing, the intensity level is all meant to be on the milder side. Yes, some of the movements are going to be harder, but the reason I'm not having you do a lot of reps of really any of the movements is because I want you to build a lot of the consistency and be able to play with the movements. And then on the second half of the challenge, we'll start to ramp the intensity up. So hopefully you're having a good time. Today was day 11. See you tomorrow for day 12.